privilege. It is a privilege for people to see you as non-assuming or innocent or not a threat. That is a privilege. If you are black in America, it is a privilege that you are not seen as someone who is threatening. So lighter skinned men are able to have that, but darker skinned men are not able to have that. So when people try to dwindle it down to attractive politics, it's really doing the whole conversation a disservice, because we can talk about that. Because on the other scale of that, darker skinned women are not seen as attractive because they still have that same stereotype. The stereotypes on both spectrums are the same. Darker skinned men and darker skinned women both have the exact same stereotypes, and that's where the issue arises. If lighter skinned men are seen as soft and fragile, what does that say about lighter skinned women? They are seen as soft and fragile.
But weren't you the one that just said at the beginning of this video that is not based on attractiveness? That is what you said, isn't it? Like, again, it's perception. You are once again, let me pull this argument out of the hat once again. If we take a dark-skinned woman from the suburbs who pretty much acts like your prototypical suburban feminine woman, and we take a light-skinned woman from the hood who's loud, obnoxious, and ghetto, and stereotypical, and we place them both in a place with mostly people of all races, can you honestly sit up here and say that they would choose the light-skinned woman just because she's lighter? No. Stop it. Just stop it. Please, just stop it.
If darker skinned men are seen as animalistic, what does that say about darker skinned women? They are seen as animalistic. And like I said, that stereotype only is seen as attractive in men. So when you give that exact same stereotype to women, what does that say? So when a lighter skinned woman, and you can literally get on YouTube and look up channels who you will see light skin tears.
So once again, you say light skin tears, and I have to bring this up once again. Who are the group of people that complain and cry the most about how they're viewed in American society? Is it light skinned people? No, it's dark skinned people that complain. So it should be dark skin tears, and if anything, I mean, how many light-skinned women have to get on videos and talk about how they got their hair cut off and their hair pulled, and it's just light-skinned tears? So by your logic, I guess that means that you're crying 19 minutes of dark-skinned tears then, because that's basically what you're doing.
A bunch of light-skinned women get together and feel like they were so victimized and their life was so hard because of colorism, not realizing you are the colorism. Like, the reason why you got that, you experience colorism, like I said, because you are the only one who benefits from it. That's
how exactly? How exactly do light-skinned women benefit from colorism? Using your talking points, and I'm going to be honest, and what I might say might offend a couple people. If dark skin is everything that you say it is and is at the bottom of society, then how exactly do light-skinned women benefit from being preferred by the men by your talking points are at the bottom of society? Like, how can you benefit from something with a group of people that's at the bottom? So you can't have 100% of nothing. So what exactly do light-skinned women get out of being preferred by dark-skinned men, who by your talking points are viewed as less than? How can you have privilege for being viewed by people that are viewed as less than? Could you explain that one to me?
That's what your experience with colorism is benefiting from colorism. Everyone else is the victim of it. And the reason why you were bullied in school is because it was a pushback. It was a pushback on what was already happening. So when light-skinned women, they do this. I'm going to tell you what light-skinned women love to say. They're like, oh my gosh, people think I don't text back because I'm light-skinned. Oh my gosh, people think I'm always sensitive because I'm light-skinned. People think I won't beat them up because I'm light-skinned. You don't realize why those are privileges. You are seen as something that is fragile. Being a woman, the best thing you can be seen as is something that is fragile.
You do realize that being fragile is not really something that's considered a privilege, right? Because you do know that people that are considered fragile are usually easily taken advantage of. Right? So, do realize that there are a lot of light-skinned women that get sexually abused early from people that fetishize them. And that's something that we don't really hear about from the black community. And a lot of them get sexually abused in early age. Because being viewed as fragile is not good. Because you're viewed as something that's easily taken advantage of and easy to break down. But from your delusional talking points, you say that that's privilege. Do we have to really go into how many light-skinned women are victims of usually getting killed from being basically around men that they should have never dated in the first place because of the fragility that you claim is a privilege? Like, come on, really?
Let's take, for example, the R. Kelly situation. You want to know why no one cared about those little black girls being raped by R. Kelly? Because most of them were dark-skinned black women. Black girls. No one cared about them. Once again, you were seen as animalistic. The rhetoric that R. Kelly apologists always come up with is, why didn't she protect herself? She put herself into this situation. I promise you, if those were light-skinned women, those things would not be said.
Well, nobody really cares about all the light-skinned women that get killed by being with dusty black men. Nobody really cares about all the light-skinned women that get beat up in the black community. In fact, in a lot of cases, if you bring those stories up to most people, they'll say, oh, well, it's not because of their skin complexion, it's because of their environment. Well, shouldn't that same logic apply to you then? Like, those women knew what they were getting into. They're just a product of their environment. So how does that sound to you? Okay, moving on.
About them. It wouldn't be said about them because light-skinned women are seen as fragile. They're seen as something that needs to be protected. The same thing as light-skinned men. And that's why you get in the black community, light-skinned people are uplifted because people feel like they are something that needs to be protected.
Protected? Are you serious? Every time light-skinned people bring up something about what we go through in the black community, it's usually led by most people saying, oh, well, dark-skinned people had it worse. So where's all this protection that you say we get? Collectively speaking, how many people even address what light-skinned people go through in the black community? Anybody? So where is this protection you're speaking of coming from? Most of us are on our own, basically. And nobody's protecting us. I don't know where you get that talking point from. And to be honest with you, if they were light-skinned women, we probably wouldn't have heard about it at all, since the black community doesn't really talk about all the light-skinned women that get killed. So, moving on.
So back to the Blackish episode. The fact that the entire episode was about light-skinned tears just further perpetuates the colorism that we've already been saying about this show. The Sun goes on a whole tirade about how you call me soft and this, that, and the third. Yes, he calls you soft, and it's not nice. No one's saying the light-skinned jokes that people make aren't mean. They're mean. You shouldn't say those things, period. But that's another conversation to be had. How black communities, we need to be nicer to each other. That's the conversation light-skinned people need to be partaking in, but they should not be partaking in the colorism conversation as if they are the victim. You can talk about colorism, but you should not put yourself in the forefront of victimization because you're not.
I really wish you could just stop pretending like you actually know what light-skinned people go through. And the funny thing that you brought up those light-skinned jokes, the funny thing about that is a lot of these same light-skinned men that these people clown, if they even whispered anything about dark-skinned men or dark-skinned women, you guys would get protected like crazy. So miss me with that whole protection argument. No one gets more protected than you guys do. A lot of people can't even crack a joke or say anything about dark-skinned people without somebody hopping down their throat. But You just said that we're the protected ones, but how many people call out any black people about all these light-skinned men or light-skinned people or light-skinned couple jokes? If you even whispered anything about dark-skinned people, somebody would hop on you about it. If I said two dark-skinned people look related, the pro-blacks, the pro-wax, and all these light-skinned saviors would hop down my throat. So where is this protection that you say we get? I would love to hear what protection you speak of, because I don't see it. Sorry.
So when I watch the Blackish episode, I'm just like, I'm sick of the light-skinned tears. It is further perpetuating this idea that is rooted in colorism, that darker-skinned black people bully light-skinned people. That is a stereotype older than time, that literally darker-skinned black people bully light-skinned people. Anytime the colorism conversation comes up, the first thing light-skinned people do is cry their light-skinned tears.
And once again, I have to say for the 1,000th time in this video, which group of people cried the most about how they're treated? Dark-skinned black people, particularly dark-skinned women. And in a lot of cases, the funny thing about this is in a lot of cases, you don't really hear any stories about dark-skinned women getting beat up or their hair pulled or anything, but you sure do hear these stories a lot from light-skinned women. But yet dark-skinned women are still the ones complaining. So if anything, like I said, it's dark-skinned tears, if anything. And you have spent 13 minutes just crying about how the world supposedly views us better. So does anybody have like a boat for me to ride on all these tears that she's cried throughout this video? Because I am drowning over here in them. I might need a life preserver soon.
Talk about how, oh my gosh, when I was in school, some girl tried to cut my hair. She tried to pull my hair. Oh my gosh, this big black bully. Like, that is the biggest thing. And then another thing, we're bitter. Light-skinned people don't even realize their comebacks for colorism are rooted in colorism. You thinking black women are bitter because light-skinned women are seen as more attractive? Of course they're bitter. Of course they are bitter. Wouldn't you be bitter if literally a subset of people are put higher than you?
So now we're on to something. So it really is about acceptance. That's really what it's all about. You guys want to be accepted by white people. That's all this whole argument is about. And you feel as if we're in the way of it. But the funny thing is, the same people that complain about how we're placed above them will be the same people that create us. Just let that sink in for a second. The same people that complain about our very existence are the same people that either go out and date the white people or lightest black people they can find. And then if they see you as a light-skinned person and you're either with somebody of another race or another light-skinned person like yourself, then you're a colorist. That's all this whole situation is about. White acceptance. And she continues to contradict herself.
Simply because the color of their skin. There are women who are light-skinned who get lifted in society who don't look better than darker skinned women, but simply because they are light-skinned, they are seen as better. So of course they would be bitter, but for some reason that stereotype of bitterness only gets put on a certain group of people. Once again, darker skinned people, because those are the types of things that are said about darker skinned women, that they're bitter, that they're all types of things that, like I said, it's animalistic. People who are darker skinned are seen as animalistic. If they're not seen as animalistic, they're seen as other things. For example, another thing with colorism. Notice how when people describe darker skin, it's always in relation to food or like material things. It's never in relation to actual human beings. It's always in chocolate. That's why I always tell people it's not the healthiest thing in the world to compare people of darker skin to things like chocolate. That perpetuates that same stereotype that darker skin has to be in association with something that is not a physical human being.
But you guys call us red and yellow every second. You don't like being called chocolate, but at the same instance, every word that you do to summarize us has something to do with color. Oh, that red bone girl over there. Oh, that yellow man over there. So you don't like being called chocolate. Then shouldn't that same thing be applied to us? Like, that's all y'all do. You call us red, yellow, lighty, every word under the sun. So by your logic, then that technically means that you guys are fetishizing us too, right? Like, just stop with the lies already.
It literally dehumanizes the dark-skinned people. I'm telling you. So once again, I just wanted to come on here and say, light-skinned people, you don't suffer from colorism. You never have and you never will. The idea of colorism is the fact that you are put higher than people who are darker skinned. Colorism does not exist if you are not at the top.
How many times do I have to say it? Where is the wealth, power, and resources that back all of these claims? You can't say that we benefit if there is no physical signs of benefiting. Like, what? Are you serious? It sounds to me like you're basing this. Oh, well, black men prefer light-skinned women, so you guys benefit. And I have brought this argument up many times. If light-skinned people are really do benefit from colorism, like you guys say we do, then why are we still associated with a community that, by your talking points, is socio-economically at the bottom? Can you explain that one to me? Like, forget all these little superficial privileges that you say, oh, well, you're viewed as more attractive. What can attractiveness do? What money do you get from being attractive? Besides being a stripper, that is, but that doesn't apply to us men. Does attractiveness equate to wealth, power, and resources? Until you can answer that question, then you really aren't fit to speak on it. But continue.
Period. And anything you experience within colorism is pushed back on something that is already happening. For example, I always have to put colorism in relation to racism because, like I said, it's a byproduct of racism. It's the exact same thing. Whenever light-skinned people try to cry their light-skinned tears, it's no different than white people crying their white tears when we bring up racism. But I don't understand how light-skinned people can understand racism, but they can't understand colorism. It's literally the exact idea. Of course, there are white people who have gotten beat up, bullied, etc. because they are white. If a white person goes to a predominantly black school, more than likely he has experienced some bullying on the hands of black people. Right? But he is not experiencing that because of racism. He is experiencing that as a byproduct of racism. It is pushed back on racism. Black people have been oppressed by white people for so long. So when you pluck a white kid and put him in an all black environment, he's gonna get jokes. He's gonna get people who say things to him. He's gonna get treated negatively a lot. Not because those people are racist, but because those people are pushing back on a system that has oppressed them for so long. And don't get me wrong. It's not saying it's not wrong. Like I said, that is another conversation. That white person shouldn't say, I experienced racism. He should say, I was bullied.
Oh boy, here we go again. Oh, well, since we're at the bottom, we can say or do whatever we want. And whoever says anything about us is racist. Just like you guys complain when somebody calls you the N-word, then isn't it hypocritical to say racist jokes about other people and then not expect them to say anything back? Like, if you call somebody else a racial slur, then don't get mad if they say it to you. Like, if you're bullying somebody because they're not your race, then you can't really get mad if they do it to you. Like, you can't say one thing and say you don't like it and then turn around and do the same thing. It sounds hypocritical to me. But, again, when you're dealing with the victim Nazis, this is what you tend to get.
I was bullied. I was made fun of. I was all these things. But he did not experience racism. No one oppressed him. Whenever he left that situation, he became the privileged set once again. And within that white school, he still has privilege. If a police officer ran into that school on any given day, he would be given the benefit of the doubt. So once again, just because you as a one single person are treated badly because of your skin color, that does not change all the other privilege you have working at your advantage. You are not all of a sudden suffering from colorism. No, colorism is the reason why you are being treated that way, because these people realize I have nothing. I do not get the benefit of the doubt you do. So they push back on it. There's a reason why you light-skinned women who cry your light-skinned tears say that, oh my gosh, when I was in middle school or kindergarten, some girl cut my hair because she didn't like that it was that long. You ever ask why she felt like she needed to do something like that? That's not saying it's right. She should have been suspended, but there's a reason why she did that thing. And the reason why is because of colorism. She has already at a young age realized that her hair is not the preferred type, but yours is. Yours is. She has figured out your privilege before you even did.
Well, by that logic, I guess that basically means that it's all war now. I guess light-skinned men, I guess now we can just go up and beat up on dark-skinned men. Since by your talking points, we can beat up people because we realize that our hair, our skin, or our image is not the preferred type. So I guess light-skinned men can just start beating up dark-skinned men now then. Your talking points, you know what it sounds like to me? You speak as if like a kid comes on crying. He's like, Daddy, this bully was beating me up at school and he said that he didn't like me because I had money and everything. And the dad says, oh, well, son, you got to realize that he probably had a rough life. So you pretty much have to accept getting beat up because he had a rough upbringing and he's probably just taking it out on you. So you just toughen up, son. That is literally what you're saying. So because of some superficial view of themselves, they take it out on light-skinned women. Make that make sense.
And it upset her. When you are a child, you don't know how to handle situations like that. So you act out. That's why in you guys, when you light-skinned people cry your light-skinned tears, you all have these stories. It's because people have figured out your privilege before you have. And the minute you leave that school, you exist as a privileged person. But
on the basis of what? What? Privilege over what? Do you really honestly believe that white people care? Like, just take a good hard look at light-skinned people and biracial people for this matter. Do we really look like we're privileged? Just take a good hard look at most of the light-skinned and biracial people in your own personal life. If we're really so privileged, then where is the community? Why are light-skinned people so hell-bent on basically upholding the cancerous image that the black community pins on us if we're so privileged? But that's a whole nother video for a whole nother time, because that's going to be an interesting one.
Guess what? In those schools, those same black girls are still getting treated badly by black men and black boys in those schools, and they get treated badly in the real world. They never get a break. If you can find yourself getting a break in these, when you claim you experience oppression, if you ever get a break from that oppression, you are not oppressed, because people who are truly oppressed don't get breaks. They don't get breaks. You don't get to decide. You don't get to walk outside one day and be like, oh, today's a good day on my oppression. I didn't get oppressed today. It doesn't work that way. Every day I walk outside as a dark-skinned woman, I'm oppressed. Every day you walk outside as a light-skinned woman, you are not oppressed. You're just not.
You are very, very delusional. That's the only thing that I've gotten out of this video. Let's be honest. Aren't you the same one that says that they're black too? So you guys hear this, right? These women are basically telling you guys that you're different. So all that caping, all that light-skin savoring, it's not changing anything. This is all these women view you as. And collectively, this is all the black community will ever view us as. A privileged set of people that they claim mooch off of them. But we all know the truth. And we all know who really mooches off of who. All we have to do is look at history. We all know who the real people that have been benefiting from our struggle has been this entire time. And you know it too. So quit lying to yourself.
You experience racism? Yes, you are black. You will always experience racism, but that does not mean.
So basically this whole video was BS then, right? Because you said that once again, you spent all this video talking about how light-skinned people benefit from colorism and then turn around and say that we face racism. Which one is it? Why can't you fools ever decide which argument you want to have? But you know what, light-skinned people? These people, at the end of the day, this just boils down to control. That's all it's about. Whichever argument that they can use to control us, that is what they're going to do. She basically has spent this entire video talking about how privileged light-skinned people are and then turning around and saying we face racism. These people honestly do not know what they're talking about. But you know what? It's our fault. We let them say this stuff. It amazes me just how lost light-skinned people seem to be in these conversations. And they keep bringing up these same repetitive talking points with no basis to back them up. This should serve as a very big warning for a lot of light-skinned people. This is basically who you're caping for, people with this mindset. What benefit did we get out of being associated with people with a mindset like this? There is no light-skin privilege. Where is the wealth, the power, and the resources? Where is it? You guys have no argument until you can prove it right. And I am very welcome to have this debate if you guys are willing to have it. And if you come with that we're all black talking point, then you make no sense whatsoever.
You experience colorism. That is my video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye-bye.
Okay, well, you've heard it first. And as I stated before, until anybody can bring any physical evidence of this supposed privilege that light-skinned people have, then this conversation is dead. This right here tells you what a lot of us light-skinned blacks are going through. We have to walk around and acknowledge this imaginary privilege that these people feel that we have just to make them feel better. In reality, it's fake. The pedestal is fake. How can you be privileged by a group of people that are socioeconomically at the bottom? You can't have 100% of nothing at all. What do light-skinned people get out of really being viewed as black? What? That whole preferred in the media argument is wrong. Until anybody can point to me a movie or show with nothing but light-skinned people, then there's no argument, because I can point to plenty that have a predominantly dark and brown cast, but nobody wants to talk about that. Until light-skinned people, until we develop the brawn and balls to fight against this, these people are just going to keep saying it. They're not going to stop. They will continue and continue to lie. And a little bit, everything that we earn that was from hard work, not privilege, will be for naught. And these light-skinned saviors, they basically place the battery in a lot of these people's back. all the hard work that light-skinned people do for all these accomplishments, and then they turn around and say that it's just because of their skin tone. It just does a complete disservice to light-skinned people. But people like this can just say this all the time, and nobody checks them out on it. How long will this last? That is my question. But until then, thanks for watching, everyone, and peace out.